Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Well, welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by Fully Funded Life. My name is Joseph Sangle. I'm one of the hosts of this podcast to help you, yes, you, live your fully funded life. A fully funded life, we define it as being able to do exactly what you've been put on earth to do, that thing that fires you up. And to be able to do that regardless of the cost, because sometimes these things are costly, and regardless of the income potential that it might generate. And you know, a lot of times the things that you love to do, they don't generate a lot of income, but nonetheless, you feel compelled to do them. We want you to be able to do that and still thrive financially. That's why we have the Monday Money Tip Podcast, and we are fired up to bring you episode number
232.
Yes, and that is the voice of Megan Hibbard, my co-host of this podcast for almost all of those 232 episodes. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. You have your tea. I have my coffee. It's cozy.
It's December 12th. It's 12/12.
12/12.
Isn't that awesome?
22.
And what a lot of times people will call it mid-December. Can we call it Central December?
Central December.
That'd be fun. Just to use different terms, weird terms.
It's not quite the 15th yet, though.
It's Central December. It's in the center cut.
Early center.
If we divide it in 10-day pieces, it's in the central part. That's nice. And today we are going to talk about what?
Yep. So we are continuing our You Asked For It series. So then this topic is How Do I End My Year Well, Part 1. So we are going to focus on, a lot of times we use the verbiage, give, save, invest, plan the rest. So
that's really good. Did you just come up with that on your own?
It's just like, boom.
It's like you're a poet and you know it. And your feet show it. They're Longfellows. Get it? Henry Wadsworth. Longfellow? No, it's a bad joke. But no, it rhymes. Will you say that one more time?
Give, save, invest, plan the rest.
It rhymes.
Yeah.
And really what we're talking about is it's 6 words and a 4-part plan to help you have financial success. Mm-hmm. Give, save, invest, plan the rest. And it's memorable, it's catchy. And today we're going to talk about it on how do you end your year well through that kind of framework. And we're going to get as far as we can go. And part 2 will help us bring it to the finish line.
Yep.
And so we're watching the clock. We're going to make sure that we hit it within our normal time. We hope that this is helpful for you. It's helpful for us, as Megan and Jordan are planning for their end of the year, as me and Jen are planning to end our year well. We all want to end our year well. And of course, since this is a financial podcast, we're going to talk about that with an intersprinkling of other things, non-financial.
Yep. Okay. So before we do that, though, we have to go to our success story because we are not powered.
It's the fuel station. Power up the podcast. This podcast is powered by your success. And so we have a member success story. Vroom, vroom.
We need like a battery and it's like filling up.
Let's fuel up.
Talk about it.
Let's go. Fuel us up.
All right. So our success story today comes from Kathy, who is finding joy in being able to give more this season. So Kathy said, I loved the financial seminar. So she attended the financial learning experience. It did change our life. I now have a working budget. We have been paying tithe. Our family made 4 shoe boxes and contributed to 2 angel gifts. We kept up with all the bills as well. We bought Christmas for our family, PTL, so praise the Lord. Our biggest obstacle was Christmas, but we put ourselves on a budget and it worked. Thanks again.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, what a great success it is. I remember the first time I had a Christmas that I didn't have to face credit card bills in January from my Christmasing.
Yeah.
And when I reflect on my financial misbehavior in so many previous Christmas seasons, I was saying, what was I doing really?
Yeah.
You know what I was really doing? I was celebrating the birth of our Savior, who would pay our debt of sin that we could never repay, the one who would make us debt-free of our sin, by going into debt, by putting myself in bondage.
Yeah.
Think about how crazy that was. It's just, man, commercialism can ruin it all.
Yeah.
And I like stuff, but I don't love stuff.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we all are able to end our year well. I love what Kathy shared here. You know, she loved the financial seminar because it was a moment. And she has a working budget. The working budget will pay off for decades. But she's pointing to an immediate win in that they were able to budget giving to their church. That's the tithe. They were able to give with 4 shoeboxes, which is Operation Christmas Child, ran by Samaritan's Purse, which is part of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. And they contributed to 2 angel tree gifts, which is helping those who aren't going to have Christmas without the help of their community. And they were able to pay all their bills. And they also got to buy Christmas for their own family. And she is praising the Lord for it. Yeah. How awesome is that? So what an appropriate success story right here, December 12th, to help people be inspired. Look, you might be feeling pressure to overspend these last few days, 13 more days. Don't do it. Keep up with the plan so that you can have the same success story that Kathy had. I'm so grateful that Kathy shared this.
Yeah. In that success story, did you say you were Christmasing?
Yeah.
I love that.
I was Christmasing.
You were Christmasing.
It's a verb.
It's a verb.
It's great. We verbed it. Hey, and I will just say this. I'm not sure that, are we fueling up or are we powering up? I don't know if we're an EV or a fossil fuel vehicle around here. We're probably a combo. We're going to call it a hybrid right now. So we are fully fueled up and powered up. Let's go.
I hear like the sound effect, like.
Yeah, but what if you had an EV one?
That did not sound like that. I don't know. Is there a bee in here? What's happening?
Yeah.
All right. So, continuing on. All right. So on this episode, we're going to talk about how do I end my year well. So we're looking through the lens of give, save, invest, plan the rest. So our goal is to get through the give and the save. And then part 2 will be the invest and plan the rest. So we'll see how we do. All right. So first, focusing on the give. So one thing you could do is determine the amount of money you'd like to give/spend. So it can be time or money. And we'd recommend doing that with your spouse.
Yeah. If you're married, you need to have this conversation with your spouse. If you're single, with your budget buddy.
Your budget buddy.
Yes, we trademarked that a couple episodes ago. And so you need to have this conversation. It's very helpful because accountability really matters here. And when you're thinking about giving, it's giving of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Financially speaking, you need to make sure that if it's financial, it is in your budget and that you put it in the budget and you make it work. Pray about it, have conversations about it, become what we call an informed philanthropist, which means you're not just giving just to give, but you're giving because you have researched the organization, the individuals you're giving to, and you know that it is a worthy organization or institution to receive your gift, and that it is advancing the things that you want to advance with your dollars. And that's very important. Many organizations depend upon our giving at the end of the year. Many organizations, raise over a third of their budget or more in the month of December because of year-end giving. So use your budget, pray about it, and just recall, listen, maybe way back at the start of this year, 2022, you set goals, giving goals. Have you achieved those goals? Have you given as much to your church that you said you wanted to? Have you given to your college that you wanted to? The American Red Cross, Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, American Society for Prevention for Cruelty to Animals, which has the world's longest commercial with Wolfie, and Wolfie's in bad shape.
I cannot stand it.
It's a terrible commercial.
So
Sarah
sad.
McLachlan singing "In the Arms of the Angels."
I always change it.
Far away from here. And Wolfie is in bad shape.
I love animals, but I
love them.
I think that's why I can't watch the episode.
Can you imagine Barkley with all of his ribs stuck out and a logging chain around his neck and stuck outside in 150-degree heat?
It's so sad.
You would give money to stop that immediately.
That's why I changed the channel.
So we're not saying just change the
budget.
channel. Yeah, it's tough. You can't give to everything.
You can't.
Be intentional with where you do give. That's what we're saying.
Yep. All right. So next, you want to determine where you'd like to give and or serve. So it can be more than one place. You don't have to put all your eggs in one basket. So what opportunities are available maybe at your church or maybe a nonprofit that you serve at? What opportunities do they have? Maybe they are having a special where they're feeding, bringing people in and letting them get a meal for the holidays, something like that. Maybe you could serve at. And is there another ministry or organization that has a mission that you would like to contribute to? And a great opportunity would be to bring your whole family into this. So, and bring everyone into the conversation. Your kids might know of an organization that you don't know of that maybe they want to serve at or they want to be able to invest their time in. So make sure if you're communicating and talking to them about that, that would be a great way. Or if you have little kids, maybe there's an organization that you can volunteer at that is with little kids as well, where they can kind of engage with other kids as well, which would be a fun opportunity for them.
Yeah, and you're teaching them this.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have kids, if you have grandkids, this is a great opportunity to bring them into it and teach them the joy of giving. Maybe some of us feel an obligation to give, and that's okay. You know, some of us have been blessed by people who've given in our life, and we feel an obligation to give back, or an organization had a profound impact in our life at some point in time, and we feel, you know, not only blessed to give, but obligated to give. And I would just make sure that that obligation is not something that is like detrimental to you. But, you know, when I think about as a kid, a young kid going to college, and, you know, I got scholarships from some organizations, that's something that, you know, I feel compelled to pay that forward because it enabled me to go. There's been, I do love my colleges that I went to, both Purdue University and Clemson University. I feel like they gave me outstanding educations and educational experiences, all the non-classroom side of things, including watching my Boilermakers lose regularly on the football field and win on the basketball stadium floor. So that was awesome. But here, you just have this conversation with your family. You know, I'm inspired to have the conversation with my 3, the one that's out of the house and my 2 that are still in the house, and say, hey, we want to give away, Mom and I have this much money we would like to give away, but we want to invite you into the conversation. That's something that we're going to do this year, and it's going to be a fun conversation.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So the next you can actually give. So in this you could let your kids help where possible. So one option or 2 options that we list could be Operation Christmas Child, we mentioned before, or the Angel Tree. So if you, Operation Christmas Child, a lot of times you can just pack a box and then you can give it. A lot of churches are involved in this, or they have drop-off points. But sometimes they let you actually go into the facility and pack the boxes that people like donate things to. I know I did that one year with like our youth group that I was serving with. So that could be an opportunity too. But that's such a fun thing. We did that with Logan. The last 2 years we've done it, where we go to like the dollar store or something like that, and we let him pick out the toys that we get to pack the boxes with. And so we tell him, like, we're packing a box for a little boy or a little girl your age, so what would you like to include? And he's able to be involved in it and pick things out, which is fun, and also learning opportunity when you're like, this is not for you, this is for somebody
that
else.
Requires explanation every time.
But he does so well. I've always been so impressed with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So there's opportunities like that, or maybe your church has a different opportunity that you can be a part of, or a nonprofit or something like that, that your whole family can kind of be involved in, which I think is really cool opportunity.
That's neat. I think that this is really, really important that you think about this. And, you know, one of the things that we really encourage you to do is, as you give your gifts, pray over them. And the people that will benefit from them, those that will receive them or receive the benefits of them. And of course, on a much more less important thing, but is important, don't forget to document it for your taxes. You know, most people are not able to deduct their giving anymore because only 12% of people actually have enough deductions to meet more than the standard deduction. So they don't even use Schedule A anymore. But you make sure you document it. That way it is not taxable if you do meet that. Yep. Now, that's very important, you know, that you think about how you end your year well and hitting your giving goals that you set for 2022. So let's talk about your saving goals. When you think about your saving goals, well, we have saving goals for different things. For example, now we kind of intermingle these, but the first one is your known upcoming expenses. All of your known upcoming expenses for when you're in December of the year, you've probably paid those dollars out, right? You've hopefully been able to save up every single paycheck or every month towards your non-monthly but known upcoming non-monthly expenses, things like Christmas, vacations, property taxes, special days like anniversaries and birthdays. But here's the question, as you saved up for them, some of them may be things that you're not spending the money in the year you accrued it, because it's a step towards a bigger thing. Like you were saving a certain amount for the next car. Did you hit that goal? Maybe you're saving up money for a big giant vacation you're taking next year. Have you hit that goal for the year? What do you need to do to true it up? And one of the things that I would encourage you to do in this season is to get organized. If you have not opened an online savings account, at Ally or at, we like Marcus, marcus.com, or some other online bank that allows you to have multiple sub-accounts, named sub-accounts, to where when you log in with one login and password, you see all of your accounts, and it's not just available balance. It actually says new car fund and home renovation project and, big giant vacation. And you can get all that stuff organized during this season. When you've got some time off, make sure you allocate the time. If you haven't opened the account, to get the account open. If you have opened the account, to create those little name sub-accounts. I think Ally calls them buckets, and get the money in the right buckets so that you're organized. And so saving for your known upcoming non-monthly expenses is really important. When you think about other things that you may be saving for, you want to make sure that you've done the math to make sure that whatever the cost was when you first thought the cost was that's still the cost. This has been the year of inflation, the first one in the last 40, really. Yeah. And so, things are not the same. A new car does not cost anywhere near the same. A new house doesn't cost anywhere near the same. You're saving for a down payment, and you had a down payment goal. You want to make sure you tweak those goals and have conversations about what you need to do to adjust it. Whenever we talk about savings, we talk about 3 types of savings. Saving for your emergency fund. That's rung 2 and 5. So we talk about saving for your known upcoming non-monthly expenses. That's what I've been talking about. And we talk about saving for your dreams. I've been talking about that a little bit, like a home reno project, replacement of a car, a vacation. I want you to think about those 3. Let's talk about that first one, your emergency fund. Do you need to bump up the emergency fund? So let's bring you into this conversation here, Megan. You've added 2 little boys to life. You've added 2 little boys' expenses to your life. Your monthly expense base has got to be up. If it's not, that's miraculous. It's important for you and Jordan to have a conversation that says the emergency fund that we had, is that sufficient for the next year? What tweaks do we need to make?
Yeah.
Is that a conversation you have on the regular, or is that something?
Yeah, we actually just had it. It's kind of funny about adding some to our emergency fund to cover, some of those expenses. Because, if you've had a baby, you know how many diapers babies use. Well, times that by 2, and now they're eating food. So times that by 2, and
times it by inflation.
Yeah, and inflation, and then you have doctor visits, and you have all the other things. And so it's definitely increased. And so I feel like we talked about, okay, we need to top it off and make sure it's set. So I feel like it's a conversation that we have frequently, but not necessarily like an every month conversation. It's kind of, we're monitoring it. Okay, we took some money out. Okay, we need to make sure we're adding money back in. Okay, has any expenses changed? Has any, twins? Okay, now they're eating food. Okay, so we need to make sure we're accounting for that in our grocery budget. We need to make sure we're accounting for, X, Y, and Z as we're looking through the next year. Okay, Logan started going to school for 3 days a week instead of 2. Okay, are we accounting for that in our, expenses as we're planning ahead? And so there's definitely been things like that we've had to account for, in our budget, not necessarily in our emergency fund, but also looking at how much we're spending has obviously grown.
Sure.
So that we need to make sure we're accounting for in the emergency fund that we have. So we have talked about, okay, let's top it off and make sure we're good as we go into the next year.
And that's great conversation, and more doctor visits. And if one gets the flu, they're probably all going to get it because all up in each other's business, RSV, and they all get it, right? So you think about that. And if many people are listening have health savings accounts or they have flexible spending accounts, this is a great time to review. If you have a flexible spending account where it's use it or lose it, you need to make sure you use it.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose that money. In an HSA, a health savings account, you don't necessarily lose it, but it may be a time where, hey, if you were only contributing half of what you're allowed to contribute, it may be a really important time to review that and say, hey, maybe we need to bump this up for next year because we're definitely going to consume it. It's just going to happen.
In some HSAs, I don't know if this is across the board, but I know if you get below a certain number, they start to give it. There's a fee, so you need to make sure you're keeping that up to what it's supposed to be, so you're not getting charged that monthly fee for having it lower than.
Well, I will tell you, you have to do some math.
Yeah.
Because my HSA is with HSA Bank. And if your balance is less than $5,000, they charge you $5 a month.
Gosh.
And I'm like, I'm not keeping $5,000 there to avoid $5 a month. If I have $5,000, I can earn 4% interest on it and earn $16 a month.
So doing the math,
why would I keep it there? So that's a math equation as well. But I do like the fact that HSA Bank has a partnership with TD Ameritrade, so I can invest any extra dollars if by some miracle there are some extra dollars there. Yeah. So that's an important conversation for saving. So what are we really saying in this episode? We're saying, how do you end your year well? That's the question. And we think it's important that you think through your giving and be intentional with it, that you think through your saving and you do tweaks to make sure you hit your 2022 goals and that you're in position to hit your 2023 needs and goals. In our next episode, we're going to talk about the last two parts, the last 4 words, which are invest, plan the rest. And we're going to talk about those 2 aspects of making sure that you end your year well. And so we have a quote for today. It's actually a verse from the Bible in the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 7. Please share it with us.
Yes. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And that is 2 Corinthians 9:7 in the NIV.
That's awesome. God does love a cheerful giver. It is a season of cheer, of joy. I do encourage you to celebrate this season. And one great way that I found to celebrate it is to make sure I'm incurring no new debt. That all of the stuff that I buy for people, that all the stuff that I give, it's all paid for. There's no bill showing up in January to remind me of it. And so we do encourage you to check in next week. It is going to be an excellent episode to help you close out this year well. If you like today's episode, please help us get this podcast to other people who could benefit. You can do it by quickly rating the podcast, leaving a review. Those ratings and reviews help us get exposed in the algorithms so that other people can be a part of this podcast. Hey, if you've implemented one of our tips, you know that this podcast is powered. It is fueled by your success. We want to hear from you. So you can email your success story to us at info@iwbnin.com. That's info@iwbnin.com. If you're watching on YouTube, you can click a thumbs up. Thumbs down if you hate it. That's awesome too. And leave a comment. If you want to see every single episode, click on the subscribe button. The little bell there will make sure you get notified each time a new episode goes live each and every Monday. Any last words you'd like to share with everybody?
Yeah, I just would be curious to see how you guys are giving and saving as we go into the next year. If you have any tips that you guys have tried or organizations that you guys are really fond of that you want to make sure everyone else is aware of, you can drop those in the comments just to gain awareness.
That's it. Yeah. Awesome. Do that. We want to hear from you. Until next week, get fired up, my friends.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.